Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the conversation series.
Because creators are businesses.
What we do is not simple.
Give, the fans everything that they deserve.
Being creative
is like doing a 5,000 piece puzzle.
is something that you can learn and do over and over again.
Always be as authentic as I can be.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the conversation series. I am thrilled today to have Miss Laura Close here with me. She is the co-founder of Included. It's an AI platform that is helping HR leaders move beyond the dashboards and all of the data that they have historically been dealing with for the last several years. She's also a speaker. I'm very excited. Laura, thank you for joining me today.
Thanks for having me, Danielle.
I want to get into, you're an entrepreneur. You've been in this entrepreneur space for quite some time. Did you grow up in an entrepreneurship household? Like, how did you get into creating all of these different companies and things that you've been doing for several years?
Such a good question. I think in some ways, my mom was pretty entrepreneurial. My mom was single with me for the first part of my childhood and really worked her way from pretty low paying jobs to a steady income. And she did that through pretty entrepreneurial behaviors, kind of hunting down her next lead and making things happen. It was a great role model for me. I also moved schools 9 times while I was growing up. And that sort of teaches you not to be complacent because you don't have the luxury of complacency. And I think that really is a huge part of the story for me about being able to, look at entire groups of people because I was constantly landing in new situations and assess what's going on here, what's on trend, how do you sort of engage?
Love that. And being co-founder of Included, I want to get into this company that you guys have created back in 2021. It's grown rapidly over the last several years, both in influence and innovation. You and your co-founder, what was the initial spark or problem you saw in the market that you were saying, okay, let's go solve this?
Yeah, I have two co-founders. We're a trio. Isn't that funny?
I love that.
And that's Chandan Gola, our chief product officer, who's frankly a genius, and Raghu Golamudi, our CEO, who brought us together and whose idea this company was.
Okay.
What happened at the time of our founding was we had three different sets of expertise. Raghu is a big data architect and expert at thinking about efficiencies for big data conversations and problem statements. Chandan is an analytics expert. He had been working on customer analytics. So if you're in marketing, you always want to know what the customer is doing, right? And really creating cutting edge products around analytics. And then, my background is in democratization and really engaging everyone in sharing their part of the decision making. And the three of us took one look at HR and said, back in 2021, and said, how can it be that HR has such a hard time getting the data insight they need when they need it to make a solid data-driven decision for their people strategy? How can it be that they're constantly being talked down to by other parts of the business and not able to always surface the numbers that, or measure what they're doing? And it was really just a problem that the three of us were perfectly suited to solve with Included, which now, democratizes access to the people data insights from that data set inside the company pretty effortlessly.
And what I liked is that it was a learning curve for me to learn about Included, because Included, you have it described as an agentic AI for HR. What does that mean in practice, and how is it different from all these other analytical tools that you see out there in the market today?
Well, agentic AI means that your AI solution can handle multiple workflows, right? It's a lot like having a team member. which is the dream, right? To be able to staff up and expand your impact without having to spend the same amount that you would to build a whole team. And when it comes to, agentic AI versus sort of legacy software, in the HR space, we've got two big old categories, I would say, for legacy software in the HR space. There's the HRIS, right? Sometimes it's Workday, which is a pretty famous one, or Bamboo HR, or ADP, which does payroll. And all those legacy HR softwares are designed to be transactional. Did you get your paycheck? Who clocked in on time? Did so and so onboard? Did they offboard and exit the company? There are these great big mountains of transactional data. They were never really designed to extrapolate directional guidance
Yeah.
from all those mountains of data, or to even make it easy to do reports. I mean, even to this day, you'll find people who can't quite get those softwares to do a report for them on their data. And then there's a second category, which is, data analytics for HR, and that's legacy software at this stage too. It was built for like a wizard to sit over people data with their own little private tool, and no one else can get to it and no one else can use it. And it's like a Ferrari for data and only one person can drive it. And that doesn't really help the whole company either. And that's really where agentic AI comes in. It's your level one analyst who can run around the company and delightfully produce the reports, the visuals, the insights where you need them.
Now, with your three entrepreneurial co-founded minds together, how do you balance speed of innovation with building something like responsible and then working with sensitive people data at the same time?
Well, I'm blessed in a lot of ways. My co-founders are data privacy experts.
Okay.
Their previous startup was in the data privacy space. And so everything we've done has been data privacy by design. Additionally, I come at this from a legal perspective, having read and studied a lot of case law related to, sensitive human resources issues. And, when we first started this journey, human resources data, people data was still really stuck in this mindset, from the 1950s. We can't tell
Yeah.
you about the data because we might go to court, right?
Yeah.
Wouldn't want to get sued. And what we've really seen during the time that Included's been in the market, we started off with sales calls where the general counsel of the whole company would get brought into the call, and they would all like stand around like scared because they were talking about the sensitive people data. And now it's like, a mid-level director is like, come on, let's go. We got to get this people data out so that people can make decisions, right? There's been this huge change in the psychology of how important it is to get those insights so that we make real smart decisions quickly.
Has there been something as you've been on sales calls or talked with people that are using Included today? Has there been something meaningful that has come back to you from HR leaders who have been using Included that you've been like, wow, we've made this product that it's actually making an impact?
There's a couple different pieces. One, HR really wants to measure itself super, super badly. And there just hasn't been sort of an ability to do it like other parts of the company. They haven't had the tools and technology. So, for example, one of our customers was able to identify an issue that was causing attrition. Attrition is really expensive for companies. People are the biggest investment a company makes. And when you're losing people, it's super impactful to the bottom line. You've got to, let the work lay fallow. You've got to go source new folks and train them. And the work is just not getting done during those months that that's happening. So they knew they were losing folks. They didn't really have time to dig in because they were busy. And with the support of Included's, ability to analyze their people data, they were able to discover that the issue was in the onboarding stage for their sales reps. So the sales reps who didn't complete onboarding were the most likely to leave the company. And so they could fix that, right? That's fixable. You can monitor and support folks in completing.
And it's so funny because if you think about it, if you're coming into a new job, like the onboarding phase for anybody that's walking into a new company, they're like, "Oh God, we got to go through onboarding. We got to go through all this stuff." It's one of those processes that I don't think anybody likes onboarding for any reason at all.
You got to do it.
Yeah,
You got to take your vitamins and eat your vegetables. You got to do the
absolutely. That's a great actual metaphor to compare. I hadn't actually thought about that, but that's a great metaphor with that.
Mhm.
Uh, as you've this trio has come together and you've co-founded this company, has there been a surprising part along this entrepreneurship journey for you?
I am blown away by the care and dedication of the HR leaders that I get to interact with every day. I've been brought out to headquarters of really exciting companies and sat in rooms with really interesting leaders over people strategy, over human resources, and their level of dedication and really obsession
Yeah.
with creating positive employee experiences far eclipsed what I anticipated
Yeah.
when we began.
When you look back and you think back to the earliest of days of Included to what it is today, like what did that first version of Included look like?
Well, it looked like it looked like us knocking on a lot of doors, asking people leaders to sponsor us into the company so that we could study how their data was being used, how it was being stored, and what they most desired to do with their data insights. So it looked like a lot of asking, it looked like a lot of networking. It looked like a lot of being brave and going first and taking no for an answer a lot.
You've gotten to, as a speaker, stand up on stage at, South by Southwest and Amazon's the RE event, big stages that are incredible stages to be a part of, and so many incredible conversations. For you, what were those experiences like for those that might not even know some of these stages?
It's funny, I still get nervous, each time. I think the thing that I would say about being able to speak in prestigious environments or kind of cool environments is preparation matters enormously. More than I think most folks give it credit for. I think sometimes, for those of us who have the gift of gab, um, folks can think, oh gosh, it's easy, right? I'll just get up there. Or conversely, I could never do what she does. And really the secret is all in the research, the preparation. I spend a lot of time thinking about what was previously done on that exact stage for similar audiences, researching that, documenting it, pulling it apart for its component pieces, and then rebuilding a new narrative that expands on what the audience probably likely is already thinking. And a lot of work goes into that, such that when it's time, right, we're delivering an experience for folks that is meaningful.
In 2013, you went and you founded Close Cohen Career Consulting. You've been doing that for several years. You've even expanded it. What was the kickoff of wanting to go do this and found this company?
I mean, the honestly, Danielle, the truth is that I was a new mom and um, I had a very successful career in political campaign strategy prior to that. Very successful in getting folks elected and policies passed, mobilizing giant voter coalitions, just really interesting work, but it was super fast paced and it didn't pay very well, right? We were trying to like do good basically, so it didn't pay very well. And I really thought, gosh, nobody can raise my kids as well as I can, point one. And point two, right? Like how does one really go to market and earn a living that can provide, real value for a family unit in a way that preserves my role as mom? And And I started talking to folks about campaign strategy for their own personal goal sets. And the number one goal set, so it was a lot of trial and error, right? Just like any founder, like I immersed myself in my potential customer population. I tested ideas on everyone I talked to, and I started to document the emerging themes. And the emerging theme was career. And so I took a bunch of initial clients on for pennies. So I was already like ruining goal number two. Um, and um, but I wanted to see if it would work, right? And it turns out, strategic tactical escalation, market penetration, and, mobilizing coalitions works in a lot of environments. And so a couple clients doubled their salaries and landed their, competitive internal promotion cycles. And I thought, uh-oh, I have a playbook here. And from there, I was able to build a business. We have staff who are all trained in our, pretty rigorous method, and we just expanded to Raleigh, Durham.
Love it. Right into my backyard, into my hometown right here. Um, as you've been building Close Cohen, as you've been a co-founder and building included, what have been some of the biggest challenges that you guys have incurred, and how have you been navigating it?
The biggest challenge in founding any business is always customer acquisition.
Okay.
In the case of Close Cohen, I had the skill set and the frameworks that we could deliver and add serious value to our clients. And in the case of Included, my co-founders have incredible technical expertise, just phenomenal technical expertise. Along with my understanding of democratization, we could add real value to HR through the data conversation. But in both cases, the question is, how do you get customers, right? It's not actually true that if you build it, they will come. That is not a true statement. So, in fact, what's true is you have to become obsessed with your customers. And you hear that phrase a lot, customer obsession. And I think folks take the term customer obsession to mean customer service, like anything you want. I'll wash your windows. I'll sharpen your pencils for you. I'll show up on your lawn at 6 a.m. and mow your grass, right? And customer service is lovely. But customer obsession actually is the solution to that perennial problem that founders face of customer acquisition. And that's to be obsessed with them even before you have them, right? To immerse yourself in the environment that your customer is in and to track their behaviors, to study them, just like, I would have done dropped off at 9 different schools over the course of my childhood, right? Study the humans as though they were animals, begin to document what do they like to eat, so forth and so on, such that your product or your service becomes something that really looks like it's naturally part of what they're already experiencing in their daily ecosystem of purchases, work, and life.
When you guys are thinking about success for Included, what is that? How do you measure success beyond, revenue or growth or all these numbers that are sitting there? What does success look like for y'all?
Success for us is if we can support HR teams, which are doing everything they can to create a positive employee experience, if we can support them in seamlessly becoming data driven, which is what they all want to do. HR teams are not staffed up with data experts. That's not the nature of how HR came to be. HR is a people-focused function, right? So if we can support HR in reaching their goals of making data-driven decisions and continuously measuring themselves and getting better and stronger and delivering ever better programs, such that the company saves money and succeeds, and the employees are happy. If we can get this tool into the hands of these companies that need it so much, that's success.
We're in a very interesting time for HR right now. There's been a lot of changes. There's things that are constantly happening. Where do you see Included fitting into the future of HR? Is there a roadmap you guys are looking at and saying, We can predict these things and we have to make room for the things that are going to be unpredictable here.
I mean, yes, one of the great things about working with really sophisticated technologists is that it feels that it doesn't even matter what new technology comes out. Like my team is like, hold on. Like they're able to understand its component parts and its place, and build it. It's amazing. Um, you know, what we're really looking at is twofold. One is the integration of HR into a seamless data stream. And that's again, like I was saying, HR teams, which are historically very policy-based and people-based, having, instant and delightful ability to get their questions answered and their programs measured, just instantly combining all of these things, which are not quite there yet. So that's part one. And we just saw the news just came out recently. Moderna, the company just recently merged its IT and HR departments into one department, right? So that's an aspect of what we're talking about. We talk about these things coming together. How do we reach the people using technology? How do we engage? And the second piece that we're really tracking is the employee experience and customization of the employee experience. So, as every new generation enters the workforce, it brings new expectations. And really, it's Gen Z that's saying, isn't there a personalized path for me here? My learning needs, my upskilling needs, my promotion pathway, even the work that I do, it should be a little bit more personalized and customized. And that's really where the data insights come in from a platform like Included. And we're really anticipating higher and higher uptake of that part of the platform where leaders can say, well, tell me about what part of the learning and development journey folks are dropping out at, show me what's working, right? And then how are we able to then start tracking individual employees goals and aspirations and needs and making sure they're being met and lifted up with the resourcing that empowers their journey.
And with AI being tied into Included, when you guys are going around and, customer acquisition and having these meetings and knocking on these doors, are there things that people are wary about, that people are worried about with AI that you guys would like to just immediately say, yeah, no, this is not how AI and Included are working together?
Oh my gosh, there's so many. Please. The hysteria around AI has been really, really amazing to watch.
Yes.
I do have to say, before I found it Included, I would have never predicted that I would have a front row seat to the advent of AI in the private sector. I mean, this has been a really wild journey, super unexpected. At the beginning of the journey in 2021, people would hang up on us. They were so scared of AI. I mean, they were scared, like sweating, like shaking, like scared. Um, it was like a robotic evil overlord that's gonna like somehow hack your bank account and send everyone in the company to court. And then maybe it would malfunction and eat your lunch and kill your sister. I mean, it was just really like the fear was sky high. Well, I would just say that now the fears are pretty chill and addressable. Like we can kind of, the terror is abated. And so, folks are still sometimes saying, oh gosh, garbage in, garbage out. We have to have clean data, so we can't use AI. And I think most folks don't realize that, a really good AI solution is going to clean your data for you. They still think they have to like go out back and like hose down like the steps and like scrub each piece of data, with like a handkerchief around there. Hold on, it's okay, man. Like the AI's got you. Like so, I think there's some imagination stuff around that piece.
It is really interesting. I like how you said you have a front row seat to it. And never in my life being in a social media position did I think I'd get the question almost daily of, do you think AI is going to take your job? And I'm like, I have yet to have that fear that AI is going to take my job. Do I think it has its benefits and it makes my life easier? Absolutely. But it is really, really interesting to see how it's progressing, how it's growing, and especially in all these different industries. It's different.
I mean, I think the AI will take your job only for the companies who don't mind losing money.
Yeah.
The Danielle ability to interview, right, to engage and to connect. I mean, this is the area where AI is absolutely the single weakest. This is it, is emotional context and making meaning of human interactions. I just can't even imagine, to do that would be to say, okay, I'm going to do a faceless content channel just as a land grab for quick cash. But anyone who actually wants to make money and build a brand, oh, wow, what a mistake.
You have helped build and scale companies. Has there been a lesson from all of these different processes that you've gone through with these companies that you think every founder or leader should hear?
Wow, that's a big question, Danielle. Honestly, I think the thing that comes to my mind is that you don't need venture capital to
Okay.
have a successful business. I've gotten to be in a business that has venture capital backing. We're very lucky and very grateful to our venture capital investors. And I see the utility, I see how this works, but you don't actually need investment in order to have a business. You need nothing in order to begin and scale a business. You need absolutely nothing.
There's a misconception that I think swirls around entrepreneurship is that you need all that backing, you need all that money, you need all this stuff to be able to do your business. But I think now more than ever, sometimes it is a lot easier to go found a company, to do your own thing, to be an entrepreneur.
It's always been easy,
Yeah.
but it's always been just as hard, right? So the issue is self-confidence. And, if we look at it from like a stoicism lens, like, not making excuses, right? Finding a real solution based on what tools you have available. There's always a path forward. There's always a path to beginning a business with absolutely, no money in your bank account, no investment, et cetera, and so forth. The problem is if your idea is bad, it will fail. And then folks say, oh, well, gosh, I needed, help from someone else. And that's not actually what the issue was to begin with.
With included, with Close Cohen, with all of these different projects that you've been a part of, what continues to fuel your fire? What continues to keep you inspired in this entrepreneurial space?
The most personal answer is that I found businesses because I need to know if my idea is right.
Okay.
Right? So your company is an extension of your own creation, your own analysis, and your own strategy. And more even than money or prestige, like I am really motivated to know, like, did I get it right?
Yeah.
Did I get the strategy right? Did I get the analysis right? Did I break it down to its component parts and build the strategy forward correctly? How's it working? Right. So sort of it's if an idea is in my head too long, I become obsessed and I need to know if it'll float.
I love that because I always tell people, I'm like, if you have something in your mind that you can't get out of your mind until you kind of like see it and it has to come out and you have to see it in real life, those are the things that end up being something that is so worthwhile for you to do.
That's it.
Yeah. Yeah. I cannot thank you enough for sitting down with me today and walking me through Included. Let me go through your entrepreneurship background. I cannot wait to see how Included keeps working in this HR space. I think it's the place where it needs attention right now, and I'm so excited you guys are doing this.
Thank you, Danielle.
Yeah, you guys, I'm gonna have all of Included. I'm gonna have all of Laura's socials down below. Please go check them out. Close Cohen, all of it. And as always, I will see you guys back here next time. Bye, y'all.